Hello! Welcome! Today I'm gonna recreate a look that Lisa Eldridge did many moons ago. It's a metallic green smoky eye and I'm so excited. So I've already put on my Province Apothecary skincare and I'm just clipping my hair out of the way to get going. I filmed this video around Christmas time, and so I really prepped my skin well because it was a little chilly here in Canada. This is a new thing I'm trying out, which is doing a little color correcting. By virtue of making YouTube videos and all of a sudden seeing myself close up in higher definition than life, I've noticed I have some dark areas around my mouth and around my eyes, as you can see there. So to counteract that, I'm using a little bit of Lavender Corrector, and that will go on before my foundation and concealer to hopefully counteract that. I don't think it's a big deal. I know it's pretty common to have dark areas, especially for women of color around the mouth. For me, because of my skin tone, it presents as kind of a yellow darkness, if that makes sense. So purple cancels out yellow on the color wheel. What really helped me to understand color correcting and color theory was watching people of color do color correcting in their videos. Because they have more pigment in their skin, the undertones and color relationships are more evident compared to someone like me with a pigment deficit. And I mean, you should just be watching people of color anyways. It's boring to only see makeup done on your own skin tone. Like I said, this is a new thing. I don't think it's necessary, but I thought I'd try it out. And to add to that, I'm using this purple toned primer from BECCA, which is just more of a overall luminous tone. Okay, I'm gonna be starting with eyes first because this is such a big eye look, and I want to make sure I can correct the skin after if I need to. So I'm taking some translucent powder and dusting it over my eye area just to kind of mattify and set the area before eyeshadow. The eyeshadow I'm going to start with is by MAC, and it's the shade Copperplate, which you can see there. It's a matte gray. I'm going to show you some alternatives if you don't have that. The Sonia Kashuk neutral palette is very good. The Smashbox full exposure. And finally I have this little Burberry, more of a silver gray eyeshadow. Any of those would work. Laying down a tea towel, just so I can clean my hands and brushes as needed without using a ton of tissues. So the gray shadow is gonna kind of map out the shape of the eye and just give a little bit of definition before going in with the blitzed green, powerful, all over color. So I'm using a fluffy brush. This one's from Real Techniques, and I'm lightly working that back and forth in my crease. I'm taking a small shading brush to then take that same color along the lower lash line. Like I said, some of this is actually even going to be covered up by the green, but this is just defining the shape. As I mentioned, I wore this look out just before Christmas time. I was doing some shopping, and it made me feel very festive. It made me feel like a little bit of an ornament, a little tinsely. And, you know, now it's March. But there's a big green event coming up next week too, so, you know, she's topical. The first time I tried out this look, I winged the shadow out a bit more, kind of straight out at the corners, which is definitely an option. You can use this gray shadow to kind of map out whatever shape, whether you want it more rounded or winged, it's up to you. This is a Juvia's Place palette, which has a nice green and is an affordable option. And then there's the Natasha Denona Tropic palette. But here's what we're gonna use. Pat McGrath. This shade is called BLITZ Emerald. Oof. Oh, yes. Look at her. Oh, it's just the best. It's, this one shade is the reason I bought this entire palette, and I have no regrets whatsoever. You may have noticed there, I spritzed my brush with some setting spray to get like maximum payoff. But this eyeshadow doesn't even really need it. Like, it'll pretty much look like this on a dry brush as well. The wet brush just makes it go a little bit faster. It gives me a little less work, a little less building up of product. But man, yeah, I love that color. I'll gently blend the edges so that it's not too harsh, but not too much. Like, I want it to be like a full-on look, really defined. But the bigger brush will just kind of smooth things out a bit. Again, I'm taking the shading brush to cover the lower lash line in that green and work it into the crease. A little pencil brush will give even more detail, and I'll go back in with that gray to kind of marry the transition from that green to the gray. You could use other colors through the crease really if you wanted. I like the gray because I like the cool tone next to the emerald. You could use a brown, something warmer, or, you know, a different shade of green. To complete the eye and make sure that there's just as much green as possible, I'm taking a green eyeshadow pencil. This one is by Rimmel, and it just kind of fills in that fleshy part of my waterline so that it's just green to the max. And I'm gonna stop there with the eyes, because I mean, what more do you need? And poof, just like that, I have my foundation on. I use the Pat McGrath foundation because, I mean, why not? I'll link to the video where I try that on, and, you know, I applied it the exact same way as I did in that video. But I am going to take some Maybelline Fit Me concealer. This is the lightest shade, and it'll help to kind of clean up the under eye area if there's any fallout, or if I want to, if I need to kind of define the eyeshadow shape a little bit more. I'll set that concealer with a light dusting of my Clarins Mineral Loose Powder. I've been finding recently that taking a small amount of powder as possible and really pressing it into the skin rather than sweeping it works great, or works better for me. Quick fill in of my eyebrows using my tried, tested and true Shu Uemura Hard Formula 9 pencil. You've seen some of my other videos, you've probably seen this process. I really just alternate between this and the Anastasia Brow Wiz in the shade Caramel. But I think this works great with the kind of cool tones we got happening today. For mascara, I'm going to be using the Essence Lash Princess. It's the purple one. It's the only way I can really tell these mascaras apart. I believe it's called Sculpted Volume. It's got the curved wand on it, and it's really good. I mean, every one of the Lash Princess mascaras I've ever tried is really good. My only qualm is that it does run under the eyes, so I just am careful sometimes. If I'm going to be, you know, at work for a long time, then maybe I'll wear something different on my lower lashes, but otherwise this one's great. Taking what's left of my powder to go around my T-zone and anywhere else I find the foundation needs a little setting. Overall, I find that this foundation sets itself well, but I'm going to be using a powder contour, so I'm taking a little bit more through the cheeks. Ooh, another Luxe Pat McGrath product here. This is the Balm Duo Highlighter, which is really nice. But I find that I wear this highlighter, and as I'm putting it on, even here on camera, I'm like, ugh, it doesn't really look like anything. Or in my mirror as I'm getting ready, you know, it's not doing it for me. And then, like, throughout the day, I'll catch a glimpse of myself in regular lighting, like, and I'm stunned. I'm like, oh my god, look at my skin, it's so perfect. Yeah, makes your skin look so glowy and lovely. Oof, yeah. Pardon me, sorry, that was my phone. Taking a little bit of Essence brow gel here to brush up my brows. Make them look as full as possible. This brow gel is pretty good. It's not the best, but it's incredibly cheap, so, you know. As I mentioned, I'm going to take a little bit of powder contour. This is from my well-loved Smashbox contour palette. I find that this color just really works for my skin tone, and it doesn't go on too pigmented, and it's a very nice smooth powder. I find that some contour powders can really disrupt the makeup underneath, which isn't cute. When I wear kind of a darker or more colorful eye, I like to keep the color a little bit minimal on my skin. So focusing on like good looking skin, carved out cheekbones and jaw, as you see here, and a little bit of blush so I don't look totally dead. But letting the eyes kind of pull focus. So to bring that little bit of color into my skin, I'm using this MUA blush, which is a nice peachy pink. Nothing too pigmented, not what I want. What I want is more of that highlighter. So I'm going back in. I'm probably putting on more because it doesn't look like enough, but then as soon as I step out of this room, I'm gonna be like, oh, who is she? Finally, finalmente, the lips. Here is one of my most recent Pat McGrath Labs purchases, which is one of her tinted lip balms. This is in the color Blow Up, and you can see it's a little mini one. I purchased a trio of these around Christmas time, and I thought that was an economical way to try a few colors without, you know, investing. And I've blotted it down, and then I'm going to kind of fill in a bit more and define my lips using the MAC Cosmetics iconic lip pencil in the shade Spice. And yeah, I think it matches this Blow Up color quite well because Blow Up is a little bit peachy and Spice has a lot of warm kind of orangey tone to it. Thinking back on the 90s and hearing about this lip liner kind of everywhere, when I purchased it again in this millennium, I was surprised by how warm it was. I really thought it was going to be like a very brown lip liner because it's kind of what I think of when I think of lips in the 90s. But it's not. And I thought that it made a really nice color combination with that Blow Up lip balm. It was very comfortable to wear, define my lips just enough without being overpowering so that these green eyes could really steal the show. Well, there you have it. This is my recreation of Lisa Eldridge's smoky metallic green eye look. I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think in the comments. I have more Pat McGrath Labs stuff planned, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!